The diplomatic fallout. The observation deck of Viridian Station glittered like a jewel against the backdrop of space, its crystalline walls capturing and refracting the light of 3 distant suns. Captain Maya Chen stood alone at the viewport, her Earth Union uniform pressed crisp despite the 36 hours of negotiations that had left dark circles beneath her eyes. "They're going to reject the proposal," she said without turning, sensing First Officer Darius Wade's approach before he spoke. "We haven't even presented the final terms," Wade replied, stopping beside her. His reflection in the glass revealed a man whose usually confident posture had given way to fatigue. "They made up their minds before we arrived." Maya turned from the viewport, her gaze drifting to the Grand Council chamber visible through transparent partitions across the central atrium. "The Alaric Consortium isn't interested in sharing power with Earth or anyone else. They want vassals, not allies." The station rotated slowly, bringing into view the massive dreadnoughts of the consortium fleet positioned in strategic formation around the diplomatic hub. 20 ships, each capable of reducing a small moon to rubble. A show of force thinly disguised as security protocol. "Then why are we here, Captain?" Wade asked. Maya smiled thinly. "To give them one last chance to choose peace." The council chamber of Viridian Station resembled an amphitheater carved from living crystal, with delegates from 17 stellar nations arranged in concentric circles. At the center stood the Alaric Triumvirate, 3 towering figures whose chitinous exoskeletons gleamed with bioluminescent patterns that shifted with their moods. High Arbiter Thaxos of the Triumvirate raised all 4 of his upper limbs, silencing the murmurs that rippled through the assembly. The representative of Earth Union may approach and present their final position. Maya stepped forward, acutely aware of how small she appeared among the various species present. Many towered over her human frame. Others possessed extra limbs or sensory appendages that made them seem unnaturally alert. But Maya walked with the quiet confidence of someone representing a species that had survived its own violent history long enough to reach the stars. "Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice amplified throughout the chamber. "Earth stands before you not as conquerors or supplicants, but as equals. We propose a mutual defense and autonomy treaty that would protect the sovereignty of peripheral worlds while ensuring technological and medical aid to those whose resources have been depleted by centuries of extraction." A derisive click emanated from Thaxos. "You speak of sovereignty while offering weapons to border worlds that fall under consortium protection." "We offer tools for self-determination," Maya countered. "Medical technology, education, sustainable energy development, and defensive systems that undermine established security protocols," interrupted Counselor Vexril of the Mordian Imperium, his tendrils coiling with agitation. "Earth has been arming insurgents across the Cygnus Arm for the past decade." Maya maintained her composure. "We've provided humanitarian aid to populations suffering under resource extraction policies that leave their worlds uninhabitable. If self-defense is deemed insurgency, perhaps that reveals the nature of the relationship." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of translated outrage and support. Maya stood unmoved as the noise washed over her. In the gallery above, representatives from the smaller, non-voting worlds leaned forward, their attention fixed on the human diplomat who dared challenge the consortium's authority. High Arbiter Thaxos silenced the chamber with a resonant vibration that made the crystal walls hum. "Earth Union proposes to dismantle a galactic order that has maintained peace for 3 centuries. Your species has been among the stars for less than one. You would destroy what you cannot possibly understand." "We understand oppression," Maya replied. "We understand that peace maintained through fear is merely delayed violence." Thaxos' bioluminescent patterns flashed with colors that the translation system refused to interpret. "This council rejects Earth's proposal as a threat to galactic stability. Furthermore, we demand the immediate cessation of all Earth Union operations beyond the Sol system and its established colonies." Maya's expression didn't change. "That would require abandoning millions of non-Earth humans and allied species to your protection. We cannot comply." Then Earth stands in violation of consortium directives. Faxes declared. You are dismissed from this assembly. Two armored guards approached Maya, their exosuits humming with contained energy. They positioned themselves on either side but didn't touch her. The insult was clear. She wasn't even worth physical restraint. Maya turned to face the upper galleries, where the representatives of the peripheral worlds watched in silence. She nodded once, a simple gesture easily missed by those not looking for it. Several delegates returned the nod almost imperceptibly. As Maya walked from the chamber with measured steps, her voice carried clearly. If peace must be purchased with freedom, the price is too high. The aid ship Mercy Light drifted through the nebula surrounding the contested colony world of Helios 6, its engines humming on minimal power as it approached the designated landing zone. The vessel's white hull gleamed against the cosmic dust, highlighted by blue running lights and prominent medical insignia. Captain Soren Nakamura watched the approach vector on the main display, tension evident in the lines around his eyes. Still no response from the colony. None, Captain, replied Navigator Lin. But surface scans show life signs concentrated in the northern settlement. Looks like they've gathered in the main medical facility. Soren nodded. As expected, they're waiting for the vaccines. The Mercy Light carried a precious cargo, treatments for the Tharsis virus that had been sweeping through frontier colonies for the past 6 months. Officially, the consortium had placed Helios 6 under quarantine, prohibiting all traffic. Unofficially, they had done nothing to address the spreading illness. Captain, the sensor officer called out, alarm evident in her voice. 3 vessels just dropped out of FTL. Consortium signatures. On screen, Soren ordered. The display shifted to show 3 Predator-class interceptors, their distinctive angular hulls bristling with weapons. They moved with precision, already forming a blockade pattern. They're targeting us, the tactical officer reported. Weapons hot. Soren opened a communications channel. Consortium vessels, this is Captain Nakamura of the Earth Union aid ship Mercy Light. We are on a humanitarian mission carrying medical supplies. Our vessel is unarmed and operates under international medical protection. The first plasma blast struck the port side, rupturing the hull and venting atmosphere into space. Alarms blared throughout the ship as emergency bulkheads slammed shut. Casualties in sections 3 through 5, shouted the first officer. Engine core destabilizing. Soren activated the emergency broadcast system, his voice steady despite the chaos erupting around him. This is Captain Soren Nakamura of the Mercy Light. We are a medical vessel under unprovoked attack by consortium forces. Our coordinates are. The second blast hit the bridge directly. For a moment, the stars seemed to expand as the viewport shattered. In the final seconds before vacuum claimed him, Soren activated the black box protocol and spoke his last words. If this is how they answer Mercy, they'll regret the storm that follows. The destruction of the Mercy Light was not broadcast on any official channels. The consortium reported it as an unfortunate accident, a vessel that strayed into restricted space and suffered catastrophic system failure. But across the frontier worlds, through encrypted channels and whispered conversations, the truth spread like wildfire. The black box recording found its way to colony after colony, settlement after settlement. The final transmission played in hidden meeting places, farm communes, mining outposts, and refugee camps. If this is how they answer Mercy, they'll regret the storm that follows. On Earth, in the subterranean command center beneath Mount Kilimanjaro, Admiral Helena Frost sat at the head of a circular table, her weathered face illuminated by the holographic display of the galaxy map. 12 others joined her, the highest-ranking military and intelligence officials of the Earth Union. The consortium has made their position clear, Admiral Frost stated, her voice betraying no emotion. They've rejected diplomacy and demonstrated their willingness to target civilian aid missions. General Marcus Santos, head of Earth's ground forces, leaned forward. We should deploy the fleet, show them that Earth can match their firepower, and start a war we can't win through conventional means. countered Director Amara Okafor of Strategic Intelligence. The consortium outguns us 5-1. Admiral Frost raised her hand, silencing the debate. We will not engage them directly. Not yet. She tapped the holographic display, highlighting dozens of worlds across the galactic arms. For the past 15 years, while we've been playing the diplomatic game, we've also been preparing alternatives. The map shifted, revealing a network of connections between seemingly unrelated systems, resource channels, training operations, embedded advisors, and sleeper cells. Shadow Protocol, murmured General Santos. Admiral Frost nodded. Exactly. We've been teaching the peripheral worlds how to fight back without appearing to fight at all. Now we activate every asset, every trained operative, every hidden cache of supplies. A ghost war, Director Okafor said, understanding dawning on her face. The consortium expects us to either submit or launch a suicidal frontal assault, Admiral Frost explained. Instead, we'll ignite 1,000 small fires across their empire. Rebellions, sabotage, tactical strikes, supply line disruptions. Each one deniable, each one targeted, each one designed to bleed them slowly. She stood, her gaze sweeping across the room. We will not declare war. We will not deploy fleets in formation. We will not give speeches or issue ultimatums. Her voice hardened. But we will break their hold on the galaxy, system by system, world by world. The command went out that night, a seemingly innocuous data transmission buried within routine updates to Earth's colonial communications network. To most monitoring systems, it appeared as nothing more than standard protocol adjustments. But across the stars, dormant operatives received their activation codes. On 57 worlds, hidden armories unlocked. In mining colonies and agricultural outposts, men and women who had lived as ordinary citizens for years gathered their teams and opened sealed orders. The storm had begun, and it would sweep through the galaxy without a sound. On Chorus 9, a frozen mining world on the edge of consortium space, Eliza Rice stared at the encrypted message on her private terminal. After 5 years of maintaining her cover as a geological survey specialist, the word she had both hoped for and dreaded had finally arrived. Shadow active. Phase 1 begins. Go to speed. She closed the message, wiped all traces from the system, and picked up her jacket. Outside, the perpetual blizzard of Chorus 9 howled against reinforced windows. Beyond the mining complex lay the vastness of a world rich in rare minerals, its indigenous population, the Korathi, reduced to labor in their own ancestral tunnels. Tonight, she would begin teaching them how to take it back. As Eliza walked through the corridors of the mining facility toward her scheduled maintenance inspection, she thought of Captain Nakamura's final words, now spreading across the frontier like a rallying cry. The storm was silent, but it would be felt across the stars. The silent storm. Commander Elias Reeves had never planned to be a revolutionary. For 12 years, he had served as a tactical specialist in Earth's Special Operations Division, until the Shadow Protocol had given him a new identity and purpose. Now, as he crouched in the ice-crusted tunnels beneath Chorus 9's primary mining complex, watching a dozen Korathi fighters prepare for their first strike, he felt the weight of Earth's strategy resting on operations just like this one. Remember, he whispered to the assembled fighters, his breath fogging in the sub-zero air, their advantage is technology. Ours is knowledge. The Korathi looked nothing like humans. Their bodies were compact and dense, evolved for the cold, with thick ridged skin that ranged from deep purple to slate gray. 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern gave them superior peripheral vision, essential for navigating the labyrinthine tunnels they had mined for generations before the consortium arrived. Merrick, the eldest of the group and their unofficial leader, nodded his massive head. We know these tunnels. They only think they do. Elias spread a rough map across the frozen ground. It showed the mining complex's power relay stations, critical infrastructure that the consortium guards monitored but rarely inspected. We're not trying to destroy the facility, he reminded them. just demonstrate that it's vulnerable. That it belongs to us, added Sora, a female Korathi whose skill with explosives had proven invaluable during their training sessions. Exactly. Elias checked the time. The shift change happens in 20 minutes. That's when the power fluctuation during handover gives us our window. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. No direct confrontation, no casualties, just a precisely timed power surge that would damage key systems and trigger an emergency shutdown. The message would be clear to the consortium administrators. Their control was an illusion. As the Korathi fighters moved silently through the maintenance shafts, Elias thought about how the Shadow Protocol was unfolding across dozens of worlds simultaneously. Earth had spent years identifying pressure points in the consortium's vast empire, places where minimal force could achieve maximum disruption. Chorus 9 was just one small piece in a much larger puzzle. The first explosion was little more than a controlled power surge, but its effects cascaded through the mining complex's systems. Emergency lights flashed as backup generators kicked in, only to fail mysteriously minutes later. By the time the consortium security forces realized what was happening, the Korathi fighters had already disappeared back into the tunnels that honeycomb the planet's crust. Elias watched from his hidden observation point as confusion spread through the complex. The consortium's response was predictable. They sealed the facility, deployed armed guards, and began scanning for saboteurs. But they were looking in the wrong direction, focusing on the facility itself rather than the tunnels beneath. When he was certain the operation had succeeded without casualties, Elias slipped away to his quarters in the administrative sector. As a registered geological consultant, his presence during an emergency was expected. What wasn't expected was the encrypted message he sent through a commercial communications relay. First rain. No thunder. Skies clearing. Across 20 light years, the message would be received by Earth's intelligence network. Confirmation that the first phase of resistance on Chorus 9 had begun successfully. Similar messages were flowing in from dozens of worlds. On the agricultural planet Vesh 3, harvesting machines mysteriously failed during the critical collection period, causing the consortium to miss its quota for the first time in 80 years. In the shipyards of Talus Minor, navigation systems on newly constructed vessels developed inexplicable errors, delaying deployments. On the administrative hub of Proxima Centauri, data archives suffered corruption that erased tax records and resource inventories. None of these incidents appeared connected. None were claimed by any group, yet all struck at the foundation of the consortium's authority, its reputation for absolute control. 3 weeks after the first operation on Chorus 9, Elias met with Merrick and Sora in an abandoned mining shaft 2 kilometers below the primary complex. Their success had emboldened the Korathi, and new recruits were joining daily. The consortium is bringing in additional security forces, Merrick reported. 3 transports arrived yesterday. Elias nodded. As expected, they can't afford to lose production here. But that means more guards, more patrols, Sora pointed out. Our next operation will be more dangerous. Yes, Elias agreed, but also more effective. They're concentrating their forces, making themselves a clearer target. He unfolded a new map, this one showing the entire northern continent of Chorus 9. And while they focus on the mining complex, we expand our network. The map revealed dozens of smaller settlements, maintenance outposts, weather monitoring stations, and secondary mining operations. Each represented a potential cell in the growing resistance network. We're not just fighting for the main facility, Elias explained. We're reclaiming the entire planet, piece by piece. Merrick studied the map, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of deep thought among the Korathi. We need weapons. No, Elias said firmly. Not yet. Our advantage is that they don't see this as a war. The moment we arm ourselves conventionally, they'll respond with overwhelming force. He removed a small device from his pocket and placed it on the map. It projected a holographic diagram of a consortium security mech, the automated combat units that patrolled the outer perimeters. These units operate on standard recognition protocols. They identify threats based on weapons signatures and behavioral patterns. Elias manipulated the hologram, highlighting specific points on the mech structure. But they have blind spots, physical and algorithmic. Sora leaned closer. You want us to disable them without triggering their defense systems. Exactly. We don't fight their technology. We subvert it. For the next 6 hours, Elias taught them techniques developed by Earth's special forces for countering automated security systems, methods that required minimal equipment but extensive knowledge of how the technology functioned. This is how Earth fights, he told them. Not with superior firepower, but with superior understanding. The consortium's response to the growing resistance came exactly as Earth's strategists had predicted. Finding themselves unable to identify the sources of disruption, they resorted to increasingly harsh crackdowns. Curfews were imposed. Civilian movements were restricted. Production quotas were raised while rations were cut. It was designed to isolate potential rebels and discourage support among the general population. Instead, it drove more Korathi into the resistance. 2 months after the first operation, Chorus 9 had become a planet in quiet revolt. The mining complex still operated, still shipped resources to consortium worlds, but production had fallen by 30%. More importantly, the cost of maintaining control had tripled as additional security forces were diverted from other systems. And Chorus 9 was just one world among many where the pattern was repeating. On the gas mining platforms of Joveris 2, essential maintenance workers began making small but critical errors in their procedures, causing exponential delays. In the data processing centers of Helicon Prime, information packets developed corruption that propagated through the consortium's bureaucratic networks. On the luxury resorts of Elysium, where the consortium's elite relaxed in artificial paradises, staff began disappearing, leaving no one to maintain the illusion of perfection. Each incident was too small to warrant major military intervention. Each problem seemed isolated, addressable through local measures. But together, they formed a spreading web of dysfunction that stretched the consortium's resources thin and frayed the nerves of its leadership. 6 months into the Shadow Protocol, the Aluric Triumvirate called an emergency session of their inner council. The meeting took place aboard the flagship Immutable Order, in orbit around the consortium capital world of Thaxos Prime. High Arbiter Thaxos addressed the assembled counselors, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing with agitation. The situation has become intolerable. Across 17 sectors, we face growing unrest, production shortfalls, and security breaches. These are isolated incidents, insisted Councillor Vexril. Local issues requiring local solutions. No, Thaxos countered, bringing up a galactic map. Our analysis reveals a pattern. Each affected world has had contact with Earth in the past decade, through diplomatic missions, humanitarian aid, or commercial exchange. Commander Zara of the Consortium Security Force stepped forward. We believe Earth is coordinating these disruptions, though we have no direct evidence. Their fingerprints are nowhere to be found. Then we make them show themselves, declared Thaxos. We will strike directly at Earth's interests, force them to either claim responsibility or abandon their proxies. The order went out immediately. Consortium forces would target Earth's established colonies, beginning with the terraforming station on Proxima Centauri. The attack would be overwhelming, designed to provoke a military response that would justify full-scale war. What the consortium didn't understand was that Earth had anticipated this move years ago. When the consortium battle group arrived at Proxima Centauri, they found the terraforming station seemingly operational but completely evacuated. No personnel, no resistance, no opportunity for the decisive victory they had planned. Instead, they found a single message broadcast on all frequencies. You've declared war on shadows. Good luck. Similar scenes played out at other Earth colonies targeted by the consortium. Some were abandoned entirely. Others maintained minimal civilian presence that disappeared hours before consortium forces arrived. It was as if Earth had eyes everywhere, predicting each move before it was made. Frustrated and increasingly desperate, the consortium escalated. They began orbital bombardments of suspected resistance strongholds on peripheral worlds, including the northern continent of Chorus 9. From the safety of the deep tunnels, Elias and the Korathi watched as plasma fire rained down, scorching the surface of their world. The mining complex itself was spared, too valuable to destroy, but the surrounding settlements were reduced to ash. "They're getting desperate," Elias told Merrick as they observed the destruction through a periscope system rigged to the surface, resorting to terror when control fails. "How many will die before this ends?" Merrick asked, his voice heavy with the weight of the suffering his people were enduring. Elias had no comforting answer. Earth's strategy was working, but at a terrible cost. The Shadow Protocol had always acknowledged that the path to liberation would be marked by sacrifice. That night, as the bombardment continued, Elias received a new encrypted message from Earth Command. "Shadow Puro Tokego Phase TU authorized. Proceed to FAULSPCTRUM Resistance." The message contained additional codes that unlocked access to hidden caches across Chorus 9, weapons, advanced countermeasures, and tactical systems that had been planted years before the conflict began. "Now we fight back," Elias told the assembled Korathi fighters, "not just with disruption, but with direct action." Using techniques taught by Earth advisors, the resistance moved from sabotage to targeted strikes. They didn't attack consortium forces directly. That would still be suicide. Instead, they'd made the occupation itself unsustainable. Supply convoys disappeared in the blizzards. Communication relays failed permanently. The few collaboration administrators who remained found themselves unable to move without escort. Similar escalations occurred across all worlds touched by the Shadow Protocol. What had been irritants became genuine threats to consortium control. What had been dismissible as local unrest became unmistakably coordinated resistance. 1 year after the destruction of the Mercy Light, the consortium's empire was bleeding from 1,000 cuts. 17 worlds had effectively liberated themselves. Dozens more teetered on the edge of open revolt. Trade routes once considered secure required heavy military escort, draining resources from central defenses. On Chorus 9, Elias stood with Merrick and Sora on a ridge overlooking the main mining complex. Below them, consortium forces were loading onto transport ships, abandoning the facility they could no longer control. "Is it over?" Sora asked. "Not yet," Elias replied. "They're retreating from the periphery to consolidate around their core worlds. The final phase is still to come." That same day, across the galaxy, Admiral Helena Frost addressed the Earth Union Security Council. The underground chamber was solemn as she delivered her report. "The Shadow Protocol has succeeded beyond our projections," she stated. "The consortium is withdrawing from 23 systems, focusing their military assets on defending their central territories." "And the cost?" asked President Chen, her expression grave. "Substantial," Admiral Frost acknowledged. "Millions displaced, thousands dead from consortium reprisals. But compared to the billions who would have perished in direct conflict, what happens now?" Secretary Alvarez interrupted. "Do we press the advantage? Move in with our fleet while they're weakened?" Admiral Frost shook her head. "No, we proceed as planned to the final phase." She activated the holographic display, showing the new galactic alignment. The consortium believed they faced insurgency. Now they understand they face something far more dangerous. An alternative. The display highlighted the liberated worlds, now forming a loose coalition with Earth at its center. Not an empire, but a network of mutual defense and support. "We've demonstrated that worlds can govern themselves, that the periphery doesn't need the core," Admiral Frost explained. "Now we offer the consortium a choice: adapt or collapse." The message transmitted to the Alaric Triumvirate was brief and unsigned, but its source was unmistakable. "The galaxy has changed. The old order is unsustainable. Meet us on Viridian Station to discuss terms for peaceful coexistence, or watch your influence recede system by system until nothing remains but your homeworld. On Viridian Station, where the conflict had begun with Maya Chen's dismissal, representatives gathered once more. But this time, Earth didn't stand alone. Delegates from 50 liberated worlds flanked the human representatives, a living testament to the success of the Shadow Protocol. The station rotated slowly, bringing into view not consortium dreadnoughts, but a diverse fleet of vessels from the newly formed Mutual Defense Compact. They were fewer in number than the consortium's former might, but they represented something the galaxy hadn't seen in centuries: genuine alliance rather than enforced submission. As High Arbiter Thaxos entered the chamber, visibly diminished by the year of conflict, Captain Maya Chen stepped forward to greet him. She had survived the diplomatic expulsion only to become Earth's lead negotiator in what many now called the Silent War. "You should have declared war openly," Thaxos said bitterly. "It would have been more honorable." Maya smiled slightly. "We did declare it. You just weren't listening." She gestured to the assembled delegates, to the worlds represented, to the future taking shape around them. "If this is how you answer peace," she said, echoing the words that had become a rallying cry across the stars, "then you've learned what war truly costs." In the silence that followed, the storm that had swept through the galaxy without a sound began, at last, to settle.